We preview the Auburn men's basketball season on the special edition of the Uptempo podcast.
You are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What is up, Auburn family, man? Hope everybody is good. And the time has come, Blake. You know how much I love it, dude. It's time to start some hoops, brother. Auburn basketball is back. Facing off Tuesday night. We're recording this on Monday. Facing off tomorrow night versus the Baylor Bears up in South Dakota. Friday night, Southeast Louisiana. We'll be coming to Neville Arena for our first home game of the year. Blake, how are you doing tonight, man? And how excited are you for basketball?
I'm ready, Dustin. A lot of high expectations, and I'm doing well, brother. I'm glad to be here tonight. Just a lot of excitement around the basketball program. Bruce Pearl having fun today, getting on the airplane and everything, headed to South Dakota. The sweater around the neck and everything. They look relaxed, man. They look relaxed. Everything looks like this team is gelling together. This team is having fun together. That is the stuff that you want to see. We know Bruce Pearl and just what a player's coach he is, right? And he lets his guys have fun. He gives his guys freedom to really do whatever they want, on the court. And I think that's why kids love to play for him. And I think that's how you reel kids in, like a Jabari Smith, and you go get a Walker Kessler. And now you in this year's class, you got the Aden Holloway kid, right? So there's a lot of high expectations and a lot of preseason buzz that this Auburn team could be competing for an SEC championship. And I think that's where Auburn should be, Dustin, is competing for championships and titles. And Bruce Pearl has brought that to Auburn. And you see it every year when they bring in people, when teams come in like Kentucky and the Pearl Jam and the Jungle Fever and all that, they're camping outside and Bruce and, I hate to say it, but last year it was Harsin, like trying to hand out pizza, but this year it might be Hugh, you just see the buzz around Auburn University, and it's exciting, man.
Yeah, Hugh got out there at the end of the basketball season last year and did some stuff, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think the important thing that you said there, Blake, was you used the word expectations. And it's just fun and refreshing for Auburn basketball to be in a place where expectations going into the season, right? Because I come from the days, man, and I know that you were watching back in the day as well, where just getting any kind of SEC win was reason to be celebratory, and they didn't come often back in the dark ages of Tony Barbie, and even before that, man, we had some things going on for sure. So this is nice, this is refreshing, and I'm really excited. And we'll start here, Blake. You mentioned Aden Holloway, and we had 2 years of Wendell Green running point, so this will be looking a little bit different for us. And our guy Trey last year. You asked me before we started recording if I thought Trey started, and I do. And so we'll start there. I do think that Trey starts the beginning of the season. Now, as we get into SEC play, I'm not sure if that's going to hold up. And and our listeners know that I love Trey Donaldson just about as much as any athlete that's at Auburn right now. He might actually, him and Bobby Pierce are in competition to be my favorite. But I think, man, after going up there Ole Miss weekend and watching the live scrimmage, dude, and I hope it wasn't just one of the situations where Aden was hot, but obviously he's highly touted, and I don't think that was the case. He just balled, man. He just balled. He's on a whole nother level. Trey looked good, but they have a different skill set. And that's kind of the thing that excites me about it, dude, is like you can kind of run with mismatches here. You can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. So let's say that Trey, maybe Aden is your best point guard as the season goes on, and Denver Jones is your best shooting guard, but maybe both of them need the ball a certain kind of way, right? Like maybe because Trey is better setting you up, right? Trey's more of a true point guard than Aden's more of a guy that's looking to shoot. He's looking to fill it up because, boy, like I said, open scrimmage, he lit it up from deep. And something we'll get into we really need this year from this team. But let's say that Trey, you have a lot of versatility at this guard position, and maybe Trey works better with a guy like Denver, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe him and Aden do. But I'm just making the point that you have options here when you have two different guys that can do two different things, and maybe the game's going a certain kind of way, and you say, okay, I think Trey can attack this mismatch this defense. Or maybe I think Aden can eat versus this zone defense, in this situation. So that's kind of what excites me here is it's not a situation like we maybe saw last year where it's Wendell goes out and then it's all right, KD, you got to run point, right? Like where you just didn't have a lot, like they kind of did the same thing. They were the same body style. You have two guys here that do very different things. And I think that gives Bruce a lot of options to play with.
Yeah, and Aden, look, I'm excited about Aden, right? I feel like you're going to get a Jared Harper type player, a guy that can hit it from anywhere on the court. And I feel like that's what Auburn's kind of been lacking. They've been lacking that shooter at that position, right? At that one spot. So I know the defense needs to improve, but I feel like he takes chances on defense, and I'm okay with that. We know what Trey can do on defense, and going into the matchup tonight with Baylor and everything, I just don't know how much Aden plays coming off the foot or ankle or whatever.
No need to rush him, yeah.
Yeah, and even if you lose this game, you're going to be okay.
Right.
The RPI and everything, like you're fine.
If you play them close, it'll actually be a credit for you. You'll get credit just for playing them close and playing the game itself.
Yeah, I mean, look at what happened last year. All right, we played so many close, valuable games that all you had to do was beat Tennessee, and you're in the tournament. And you actually got a higher seed than what you thought you were going to get, right? So a lot of people were saying that Auburn was going to be a 10 seed, maybe. So I heard some people say an 11 seed, maybe find themselves in a play-in game, right? And then you ended up, playing that Iowa team and everything. And I think that's why Bruce schedules these tough non-con schedules, man, is because you want to get a guy like Aden in there and throw him in there and see how he responds. I think he's going to do a hell of a job. I'm excited about the shooting of this Auburn team. And if Trey Donaldson shoots like he did at the end of last year, Dustin, I mean, how are you – remember last year we struggled to score 80 points. We struggled to score 80 points. It was rare for Auburn to score 80. And we lost games because of it.
We're just so bad from the three-point line, man.
Yeah, and the free throw line. I hope that's another thing that improves. Yeah. Our free throw shooting has to improve this year. I think bringing a guy in like Aden, I think that will help. A guy like Denver, I think that helps. Chad Baker-Mazara, I think that helps. I'll be honest with you. Bruce killed the transfer portal. I'm sorry, my buddy Levi, he's back here hacking. But I think Bruce killed the transfer portal, man. And it starts right here with these two guys at the guard position. Because you made a great point, Dustin. When you don't really have to rely on KD as much this year to throw him into the fire, bringing the ball up the court in situations where he really wasn't comfortable in last year. I think this Auburn team has a little depth in ball handlers this year.
Yeah, and I love Zeb Jasper, and I love the defense that he brought, but there were just times where you just weren't getting anything offensively from him, and his minutes in important games kind of dwindled, so it's refreshing to see some new guys in there at guard, man, and I'm excited for this. And obviously Trey was here last year, but a big step, a much bigger role for him this year, and I certainly think he's ready for it, and boy, when you took him out of both of those tournament games, it looked a lot different. And I think that he really got hot. I go back to the Bama game last year. He played very well on the road. He really played great for the majority of the games down the stretch last year when we needed him going into the tournament. So I'm excited for Trey. And let's move over here to the shooting guard, dude. Denver Jones, KD Johnson, and Lior Berman. KD's third year in the program. Our guy Lior coming back on scholarship. And then Denver Jones, a guy coming in from FIU. This is the guy to me that is probably going to be one of the more crucial, if not the most crucial player on this team. We need Denver Jones to shoot the three ball from a high percentage. We need Denver Jones to shoot the free throws at a high percentage. We need Denver Jones to get to the rack strong and be physical. We need Denver Jones to be at least above average defensively when we're going up against guards that are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". That has certainly beat us down the stretch these last couple of years, and Blake hammered that home last year about just going up against these big teams, these physical teams. You go to a road environment like Fayetteville, man, and you go to a place, in Tuscaloosa, and you go to a place in Knoxville where it's tough, man. You need big guards in some of these games. When you get into the tournament, you better have a big guard, or you're only gonna go so far. You certainly ain't touching Sweet 16, Elite 8. You ain't getting nothing with a nickname.
Yep.
You ain't getting nowhere with a nickname if you ain't got a big guard. And I think that obviously a 6'4", 205 guard in Denver, man. I think this guy Blake is so critical to this team's success. We need him to average around 14 to 16 points a night, somewhere in there, and he needs to be efficient. Denver needs to be a guy that we can count on, and I think it's going to have to be either him or Aden in those late games where it's like, all right, man, I need a bucket.
Mm-hmm.
If I need a three, man, I need Denver Jones to be that guy that we can count on, and we need him, Blake. He's going to be a big part of this team, and if we want to do the things that we want to do this year, Denver Jones has got to live it up.
I am 100% with you on this, and look, the 6'4", 205. Another thing that I think Auburn has been missing, and look, one thing I like to look back to. I like to always look back to last year, right? Because I think Mississippi State kind of gave a recipe to the rest of the league on how to shut down Auburn's guard play. If you remember, we were up big on Mississippi State last year. And what did they start doing, Dustin? We brought it across half court, all right, and they started trapping. Uh-oh, buddy. They started trapping us. And when Wendell couldn't step through and get the pass out immediately, man, we struggled. And I think the rest of the league caught on. And now Denver Jones, that first step is crucial in my opinion. 6'4", big body, got length to him. He's somebody that can beat you on that first step. Remember Texas A&M last year, Dustin? I felt like their big guards beat us off the dribble. They were getting to the rim on us in our house. They've been beating
us for a couple of years with that now. They've been beating us consistently doing that.
That's true. In our house. Beat us by 18, 20 last year in our crib?
I remember. They took it to us.
Yeah. And so I also need from Denver is the shot making. I got to have him shooting 40 plus, man. We have to have that if we want to be successful. I just feel like this kind of reminds me of, I'm not going to say, a Bryce Brown type shooter, because I mean, that was magical what that kid did. But if you could get something similar, just relatively close, I think this Auburn basketball team could be special, man. And I think it takes a lot of heat off of KD. KD might not remember last year when we kept harping on KD, slow down. You don't have to be that guy.
Right.
I think this could take a little heat off of KD. And towards the end of the year, he started finding his shot. Maybe stop being a wild man a little bit. Like, I know we love to say he's our psycho, but sometimes it gets a little too psycho, right? Slow it down a little bit. Pick your shots. Take your shots. We still want you to shoot. But I feel like Denver could take a little stress off of KD, and KD kind of not have to press to maybe put up 15. So, and as far as Lior Berman, man, look, Lior is going to make a shot or two. He might get absolutely cooked on defense, but he's going to make a shot or two. He'll get a couple minutes, man. He's a hustler. He's a grinder. And I'm cool with guys like Lior getting minutes, because he's going to work his ass off, Dustin, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you put him out there with your best defensive lineup, in my opinion. Put him out there with your best defensive lineup. That way, if there's anything he can, anything that he lacks can be made up for. But get him some shots. So yeah, Lior's going to get some minutes. He's going to knock down some big buckets for sure. And for KD, man, I like your point about Denver taking some pressure off of him. Knowing his role, knowing that he's playing the two guard for the most part, and he's coming off the bench. And I like KD off the bench. I just do. I think it brings you a lot of energy. We'll get down here in a minute to some of the 3 and 4 spot. I really like our bench, and I love a guy like KD coming off that bench, kind of being the leader of that bench and bringing that juice when the starters come out. Because it's like, all right, starters come out, and let's say that Denver was lighting you up and he needs to come get a breather. And now you got this crazy dude in your face, literally screaming at the ball after he steals it and lays it up. He's screaming at the ball as you're trying to check it in. So it's a lot to deal with. And we all love KD. I love having that off the bench, man. So I'm excited for the 2 spot, man. I'm excited for everything that we got and all 5 of these guards that we just mentioned. Yep. I think that this is going to be, when you talk about Bryce Brown and Denver Jones, you can, like you said, man, you can never ask somebody to do that, to duplicate, one of the best shooters in Auburn history, if not the best. But if you can give us something of that, and then you can get something of, like you said, Jared Harper-ish from Aden Holloway, then all of a sudden, and maybe if Trey plays that backup, that McCormick type role, I think he'll get a little bit more minutes. I think he's a little bit of a better player, but still. But on that Aden and that Denver, man, yeah, because like you said to open, Bruce gives them the freedom. Yep. And the problem these last couple of years, in my opinion, is you got inconsistent shooters with freedom. Yep. So some nights logo win, right? And some nights he's not logo win. And it's okay for shooters to have an off night, but 2 out of 3 nights being off, maybe he's not, or that's not it. That's not it. And so consistency, especially shooting the ball efficiently and being effective from deep, from the guard spot, is going to be what I think is going to be a big change in what we've seen in the last couple of years. And I expect it to look something similar to that backcourt that we obviously all love that made that Final Four run. And that'll be fun to see, because in this Bruce Pearl system, to see guys with their freedom actually knocking down those shots at a consistent rate. Moving on to the small forward position. Very interesting here, Blake, between our guy Chris Moore returning for another year. I feel like he's been here forever. And then newcomer Chad Baker-Mazara. Chad Baker, man, I watched him at the open scrimmage, and it was a kind of a Swiss Army knife type deal. He just did a little bit of everything, and that's funny because that's kind of what Chris Moore does as well. So I think this will be, again, like the point guard I talked about. This gives Bruce options, man, to do different things. I think Chad Baker's more of the scorer here, Blake, and Chris Moore is more of the kind of guy that's going to get in there, get the hustle, get the defense, get the rebounds for you. And Chad does that. I mean, they're really similar in a lot of ways. Offensively, they're a lot different in the way that they're looking to score, and Chad's more scoring minded than Chris Moore is. But I like this again because it's versatility. You can match up. I anticipate that if Chris Moore starts versus Baylor, that again, as the season goes on, similar to the point guard thing, I think Chad will take over. But Semo was balling before he got hurt last year. And then once he got hurt, he tried to get put back in the rotation, and it just never really got picked back up for him. But he was doing a lot of good things for this team before he got hurt last year. So, again, I'm very comfortable here with Bruce just kind of sitting back and saying, either way, I think you can do a lot of things based off of what your opponent, and you can kind of the mismatches, and you can just kind of play to what the opponent is doing with these 2 guys here.
Yeah, we were big on Chris Moore last year before he got hurt. We thought he was in on the glass, getting boards for this team, doing the dirty work, the stuff that was necessary for you to win games. And then he went down, and like you said, he just could never really get back right. But my big thing here is adding Chad Baker-Mazara. That was a San Diego State team that hated to lose him. And you got to think, if they had him last year, I mean, look, they played in the national championship game. If they would have had him last year, boy, and now he's at Auburn. He stepped away a little bit. What did he go, JUCO, and then come to Auburn? So he comes to Auburn, and you got a 6'7" guy. He's deadly in the mid range. They say he can play a little defense, but he, like you said, he can do a little bit of everything, Dustin. But those mid range jumpers, the pull up, free throw line, get there, find your shot, raise up, bang. The kid's money, man. And I think that's just going to add another element to this Auburn offense that's going to be really difficult to stop for teams. The scoring should be elite for Auburn this year. I would be surprised if we struggled to get to 80 in a lot of games like we did last year, Dustin.
Look, we struggled with length last year, and we struggled with shooting. And let's just say right here, the 3 positions we've gone down so far, let's say Aden Holloway starts at 6'1", and he's a better shooter than what you had at point guard last year. Denver Jones starting at shooting guard at 6'4". He's bigger and a better shooting guard than what you had last year. And then Chad Baker-Mazara starting at 6'7", very long, a $180, and a better shooter than what you had at the 3 spot last year. So it looks like, Aden getting acquired from high school, and then Denver and Chad from the transfer portal. Bruce was looking at it all year and saying, I know what I got to do. I know what I got to do. And he went into the offseason and did it. And Blake, you remember, I said in the middle of a losing streak, I think Bruce going to blow this thing up and bring in about 4 to 5 new people. And this team's going to look a lot different last year. And boy, did I get drugged. Just got drugged. Dustin, there's no way that Bruce would say goodbye to Yohan Traore after 1 year. There's no way he would give up on a guy like Chance Westry after 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And we won't get into this tonight, but man, how long did Hugh Freeze let that bull crap go on offense before he stepped in there and said, "Get out the way, I'm calling plays"? Look, man, Bruce Pearl's a competitive dude, man. He's a competitive dude. He saw what we needed in the offseason. He went in there and he got the guys. So I'm really excited for the small forward spot as well. Chad Baker is going to be fun. It'll be interesting to see who is starting games down the stretch here. I really don't know. I think this is a tight battle. Chaney Johnson coming in, Blake, from the D2. And then our guy, Jalen Williams. And I'm going to say this before we get into this, bro, because I probably said it a million times. Jalen Williams could easily be the best player on this team. Jalen Williams, in my opinion, has the potential to already be playing in the NBA. In my opinion, Jalen Williams should already be playing in the NBA. Would he be a superstar? No. But when Jalen Williams is playing like Jalen Williams, he's a hard person to stop because he can do everything. He's so versatile at the 4 spot, and he's so deadly at that 10 to 12 foot range. He really has got that little turnaround hook, and he also facing the front, that little floater. He's got that whole area, man, figured out. He's really good in between the free throw line and the bucket inside the paint there, maybe outside a little bit in that mid range. He's got a lot of moves. He's good at passing it out of that 4 spot. He's a good defender. He's a high IQ player. We all know the deal with Jalen Williams. Blake, he'll start off, he'll have 14 points in the first half, and then he'll pass up open shots in the second half, and it just leaves you scratching your head. You got a guy, Chaney Johnson, coming in here that is hungry to prove what he come from North Alabama, correct? So one of those D2 teams in Alabama. He's coming in. He's ready to prove that he can play at this level. 6'7", 220 pounds. Bruce has raved about his athleticism, and it seems like he came in here and took Jalen's spot. It seems like he's going to be the starter, at least going forward here. Now, obviously, I think Jalen will get to start some games, and he's going to get a whole lot of playing time. I think Jalen is really your 6th man if he doesn't start. And again, when I talked about that bench, boy, I think as the season goes on, I think your bench is going to look like Trey, KD, either Chris or Chad. Either way, I'm cool with it. And then Jalen, man, I think Jalen's a 6-man type person that you can really build your team around, and a guy that's going to get 20 to 25 minutes either way. Blake, how you feeling about the power forward spot?
Another spot where I'm excited, man. Dustin, I look at Chaney Johnson, man, and I think he comes in and starts. I think he's got a little more bounce and a little more athleticism than Jalen down at the 4. And I think this takes a load off of Jalen. To not be that superstar where we need you to flip the switch and we need you to get us 18 to 20. All right. Some nights he could do it. But some nights you just kind of seen him fade into the background, and he would get you 15 at half. And then in the second half, he would no show. All right. I feel like in your second unit that you just named, man, you just say you have Chad Baker-Mazara and Jalen Williams in your second unit with Trey Donaldson. Like, come on, man.
He's
like,
feeding them. Yeah.
And KD, like that's a unit, bro. And you got Dylan in the paint. Like, that's a unit right there. I mean, that's you got scoring options when you go to your bench. And I really feel like Jalen moving to that 6th man or that second unit. I think that's going to help him in the long run this year and help this Auburn team. But I'm excited to see Chaney Johnson, man. They say this cat is electric. The athleticism is raw. He's real. He can get a bucket. And this is going to help Joe Nye in the long run, folks. This is going to take a little pressure off of Joe Nye down there in that paint. I think Chaney and Jalen could help Joe Nye this year get some major postseason love, some postseason awards, and things like that heading into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think you made a lot of good points there. Agree with everything you say, brother. And you mentioned him, the big guy, man, the guy that I think the whole season kind of revolves around. Me and you said off before we started recording, if this guy gets hurt, this whole season's going to look a whole lot different, right? Everything's going to kind of run through our guy, Janai Broom, 6'10", 240. He's up for all the preseason accolades. I mean, he's on every watch list for every kind of award. And then our guy, Dylan Caldwell, returning for his 17th season at Auburn. Mr. Auburn, bro, like the Auburn Tiger. At the Ole Miss weekend, dude, I'm not kidding you, Blake. I saw him everywhere. I saw him at the baseball scrimmage. I walked right by him 2 different times. One time he was on a scooter. Obviously saw him at the basketball. I mean, he's at the football game. You just see him everywhere. The guy loves Auburn. So one more ride for Dylan Caldwell, man. Hopefully we can get him some kind of hardware, SEC, one more SEC ring or something. Because KD, they had a little meet and greet. And I didn't walk through the line. Obviously, that's for kids, you know. But KD was flashing that. Boy, he was flashing that SEC ring. And things look nice. So let's get a guy like Dylan one more of those. We love Dylan, but it all is going to go through Janai, bro. It really is. And just I don't want to just pass over Dylan. I love the energy that he brings off the bench. We just mentioned what we think the bench is going to look like as the season goes on. That's a perfect guy in that 5 spot for me. Coming in, giving you big impact minutes. Just needs to improve his defensive positioning sometimes. Hopefully they've worked on that in the offseason. But he's going to come in and give you a lot of effort. He's going to come in and give you high energy. When Dylan's hot, he's catching that alley-oop. He's dunking it. He's playing defense. He's, with effort. He's rebounding at a high rate. So I think that with Jalen, with Chad or Chris, whoever it ends up being there at the 3, with KD, with Aden, with Trey, I just love that bench. I really do. I think they all complement each other well. So I think that Dylan knows his role. Dylan's willing to play his role. He's a great team guy. He's great for the locker room. I think Dylan brings a ton to this team. But like I said, man, this team runs through Janai Broom. It is. This is Janai's year. And I think he's ready for it, Blake. I think he's ready for it mentally. I think he's ready for it physically. The only thing I would say is, and this is not even really a Janai thing. This is just where this is on the SEC officials that have no idea what the hell they're calling half the time. And that's the thing that, like, I really have kind of had to prepare myself for basketball season. Is like, all right, I'm really going to be banging my head against the wall every night because these SEC basketball officials, dude, they are just, oh, man. Dude, I mean, if you it's so bad, Blake. It's so bad. And these guys really need their names on the back of their jerseys, and we need to know who they are. These guys are unreal. So I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not going to go on that rant tonight because we're going to get on that rant most likely 15 times as the season goes on. I go back to the A&M game last year, dude. I go back to the game in Tuscaloosa last year. Just, my goodness, bro. But, so Janai's got to stay out of foul trouble the best he can is the point that I'm getting at here because it's a tough battle. Obviously, a big guy that's down there banging in the paint, man. We just need Janai to stay healthy. We need him to stay out of foul trouble. Other than that, Blake, I'm expecting a 17-10 type year, 17-11 type year, just all SEC. If everything goes the way we expect it to, big year for Janai. He actually got some there was really a lot of noise about him going pro because he just killed the draft process. So I think that he's going to have a lot of eyes on him, a lot of NBA eyes on him this year. And I think he's ready for it, man.
I agree 100%. And we just got to keep him healthy. Got to keep him healthy. He's already fell once in the scrimmage the other day.
Scared everybody.
Yeah. We got to keep him healthy. But if we keep him healthy, man, a big year for Joe Nye, big year for this Auburn basketball team. I think they can. I think they can make some noise. I really do. And you got Dylan. All we need, Dylan, is just play that role, man. Keep being himself down there. Maybe produce a little bit more offensively. Just a couple more buckets, man. I don't need you to fill it up.
Yeah, I got you, buddy. So we're gonna get over here, but we like Blake was saying, Dylan just needs to play his role.
Yeah. I don't need you. I don't need you to fill it up. All right. I don't need you to fill it up. I just need you to just give me a couple more buckets down there in the paint.
For sure. All right, man. So that's kind of our breakdown of the roster. We're gonna get over here and talk about this non-conference schedule, Blake, because as I was getting ready to doing the prep for this show, and I knew it. I had gone through it before, but I just like, man, this is a tough one. We're starting off tonight, or we're recording here, like I said, Monday. If you're watching this Tuesday, then yeah, we're starting off tonight with Baylor. I think they're ranked 20th. Tough one. You got Notre Dame. That's in Brooklyn, and then depending on how the games, because it's a little four-team tournament, you might end up playing Oklahoma State depending on how the other game goes in that one. You got Virginia Tech coming in for the first SEC ACC challenge. You're playing Indiana in Atlanta. You're going to App State, which is just a weird one. You got USC coming back, a game that I felt like we gave away in California last year. And then you've got Chattanooga. And listen, man, Chattanooga is a tough team out of the SoCon. That's not a team that you can just pass over and say, oh man, it's Chattanooga. They make the tournament a lot. That's a good program. They're well coached. They have good athletes, and they take basketball seriously at University of Tennessee Chattanooga. So that's not a team that you can just overlook. Bruce really loaded up the non-conference schedule here this year with a lot of tough tests. And when you have a lot of new pieces like we do, that's kind of my question. And when I looked at the non-conference, I said, man, if we can get out of this 10-3, then I feel pretty good about that. I feel good about coming out of this one 10-3 because these are just some tough opponents. And like me and Blake were talking about, if you play these games close, then I won't say like if you lose to Baylor by 5 or 6, if you lose some of these games in that kind of manner, you're almost not penalized for it. The way the RPI works is they're saying, hey, you played a whole bunch of hard games. As long as you win some of them, you can't lose all of them. But if you show that you're competent, you can compete with these high level teams, they're going to reward you for scheduling them. And then make no mistake about it, the SEC is getting a lot better in basketball. There's going to be a ton of tests, obviously, in conference play. So for me, Blake, the non-conference is about picking up a couple of these wins in these tough games, staying healthy. When we're going to need, like you said, we're going to need Janai. We're going to need these guys when we come into SEC play. Have your lineups figured out by then. Have everybody kind of in a groove, knowing their role. Obviously, would be the optimal situation there. USC coming into Neville, Blake. I know everyone's excited about that because LeBron James. I know his kid has some kind of health situation going on to the summer. I didn't look a whole lot into that because I'm going to be honest with you guys. Basketball is my favorite sport. But the way that the game of basketball and everything around it has gone, if it's anything outside of Auburn basketball, I do not pay attention. I had some people messaging me during SEC basketball media days asking me what I thought about Alabama or Arkansas, and I was like, dog, I legit can't name one player on that team. I can tell you 60 kids that play high school football, but I cannot tell you one kid on any other team really outside of Auburn basketball in the SEC. Just going to be honest with you. When the season starts, I'll get in there and we'll get to watching them and checking them out and scouting them out, man. But like with the way the portal is and everything now, I keep up with Auburn hoops. So, I know that Baby James coming in there, man. Everyone's excited about that USC one. Like I mentioned, we went out there last year. Indiana and Atlanta. Who did we play last year in Atlanta that got us? Memphis. Memphis, yeah. So I know that the guys want to go back out there to Atlanta. There's always going to be a big Auburn crowd in Atlanta, right? And not a good result last year. So in Indiana, obviously a blue blood, all the great years. They were Bobby Knight, rest in peace to the GOAT, recently passed away. App State's a tricky one. This is just a tough one, Blake. There's just a lot of games I'm looking at here. And when I went back over this yesterday when I was making the prep for this show, and I was like, damn it, Bruce. I know what you're doing, but goodness, man.
It's tough. It is tough. It's a tough slate, Dustin. But I think this is a slate that can get you ready and get this team gelled together for SEC play. I think this could propel you into the NCAA tournament. And we know Bruce is a master at this. Like, he's always going to play a hard non-con. That's just how he is. That's the way he coaches. Baylor, they're just a couple years off a national championship. All right. Notre Dame, they're usually a respectable program. I don't think they're going to be that great this year. We should win that one. Virginia Tech, they'll sneak up on you. They play legit basketball. They're a tough team. Indiana, that's going to be a tough one. All right, that's going to be a tough one. In Atlanta, we should have the upper hand there. And I think we win that one at App State, like you were saying. That's going to be a tough one on the road. They can probably shoot it a little bit. USC, we got to get our lick back, brother. We got to go back and get it. That's in the jungle. we got to get loud for that one. And Chattanooga, don't sleep on Chattanooga, man.
The Mocs play ball, bro.
Yeah, they can shoot it. So this is a tough non-con, but I like it. I think this helps this Auburn team in the long run, Dustin.
Yeah, you can go back and look at a team like LSU last year. I think LSU went into the SEC undefeated. I think they were like 14-0. If not, they were 14-1 or something. And then they started off, they beat Arkansas. They beat Arkansas handily the first SEC game. And everybody was looking at LSU like, okay, that coach is doing some things, especially in the situation. And then they didn't win a game for like 2 months. So it really is, man. It is really important to play some of these games, find out what you got. You can sit there and pad your schedule and get 13, 14 wins out the way and have a great record coming into non-conference games, but you're really cheating yourself because you're not facing the fire. You got to find some things out. In basketball, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get this speech out the way because it's gonna happen a couple times during the season. You're going to lose games in basketball. We're about to give our prediction on the season here, our record prediction. You're going to lose games in basketball. And when you lose, how do you lose? Why do you lose? You lose because you don't do things right and it's going to look bad. So you're going to have nights where you turn the ball over a whole lot, you miss free throws, you don't shoot the ball well. All these things are going to happen. And in those times, when that happens, what I don't need to see is everybody freaking out, thinking that the world is crashing down, that Auburn basketball is falling apart. That's just not, the way basketball works. This is a tough non-conference. And then when we get into the SEC, we're going to have some tough slates, dude. There's going to be some tough games. There's going to be some tough stretches, obviously, in the SEC as well. It's not the SEC that we grew up on, man. It's just not. These teams take it seriously now. Alabama had no choice, Blake. Alabama had no choice but to counter us. What were they going to do? Were they going to let us just sit back and go to Final Fours and dominate the state with Bruce Pearl? They had to counter. They had to do something. You know how it works. So that's where the SEC is. And you cannot play a soft non-conference schedule and then just roll into the SEC and think, oh, okay, you got it. So if we come out of this non-conference 9-4, which I wouldn't be too big of a fan of, I think 10-3 is kind of where you need to fall. But if we come out of there 9-4, 10-3 with some close losses, we will be kind of frustrated with it, but it's not going to hurt us at the end of the season. And if you lose a close game at Notre Dame, if you lose a close game versus Indiana, or maybe if an App State gets you and they go on and win 21 games in the Sun Belt or something, by the end of the season, you'll be okay. And I think you'll be a better team for it in the long run. And then when you get into that SEC game where you're getting tested at 72-72 with 4 minutes to go, okay, cool. I already saw this when we played Virginia Tech. Okay, cool. I saw this for Chattanooga, or I saw this versus Baylor. So that's kind of the thinking there. It is tough, though. But like you said, Bruce does it. I see why he does it. And obviously it works out well because every time that they announce a tournament seed, Blake, we seem to be there. And that should be the goal for Auburn basketball is get to the big dance. I really do believe that. And then everything from there, just kind of if we can make a run, see how it falls and all that kind of stuff. You got anything to add on this before we get in here and make our predictions?
I just want to say, yeah, the expectation should be to get to the big dance. It should be able to make a Sweet 16 appearance. This year, I think this team is good enough, long enough, can shoot it well enough that we could get to talking to Elite Eight,
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of high expectations around this team. I think this Auburn team could make a run. I might be booging. I don't know. I mean, I wear it for a reason, but it is what it is. I like our Tigers.
Yeah, I don't think you're booging, man. Last year, I said I think we're going to lose 10 or 11 games, and I kind of maintained that the whole year. Right, we would lose, and I was like, all right, man, this is what I expected. I think that team just kind of was what it was. I think we saw it early. They were a good defensive team, like you said at the beginning. 80 seemed impossible. How many times last year, Blake, were me and you like, okay, if we find 70 points, I bet we win this game. I don't think it's going to be that case this year. I think 80 is kind of the floor, going to be the floor most nights. I think we're going to be able to shoot the ball a lot better, produce a lot better on the offensive side, shoot the ball better from three. Obviously, Bruce attacked that as far as the guys that he brought in. So now it's just about health. It's about these guys finding their chemistry. And I trust Bruce Pearl to do that. I trust Bruce Pearl to put the guys in the best position to win. Before we get in here and give our predictions, Blake, I did want to do real quick best case, worst case scenario. And I'll say best case scenario for Auburn this year is that we shoot the ball well from deep, and that guys like Denver Jones and guys like Chad Baker do what we brought them in to do. They're able to fill it up. They're able to put that ball in the hoop. And then Janai Broome stays healthy and does everything that he's capable of and that we expect him to do, which would lead me to my worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, Janai Broome gets hurt. If Janai Broome gets hurt, then all of a sudden we're looking at having to run small ball lineups, moving Jay Will down to the 5 whenever Dylan goes out. You're asking Dylan to play a role where he's not comfortable playing as far as starting, playing heavy minutes. You're really going, you're doing a lot of things trying to figure out. It messes you up all the way. It messes you all the way up to the 3 spot, really, and how you're going to rotate guys, what you want to do. We need Janai Broome healthy. The season kind of banks on him. It really does in a lot of ways in his health, because if he goes down, then we're just going to get crushed. I can go back to times last year when Janai was out where we just got crushed on the boards. And I hope that a guy like Chaney Johnson can help out with that. But there's still just, if Janai's not out there, man, it can be a tough deal. And I go back to a night in Knoxville last year where he got in foul trouble. Dylan was in trouble. We had to put Johan out there. It can just get hairy real quick down there at the 5 spot for us, man, if those guys aren't healthy. So we need Janai to stay healthy. And then off of the health, I would say just Aden. You need Aden to be as good as advertised. We need Aden to be what we think he's going to be. This cannot be a Chance Westry situation. It can't. We can't afford that with Aden. Aden's got to be a dude that comes in and plays efficiently. And if he's going to be a freshman that has his struggles, especially in our early, like we just went over the non-conference, if Aden struggles early in that, then I'm not going to be too alarmed, as long as he finds it by the time conference play comes around, because we need him to be a guy. We really do. We cannot afford for Aden Holloway to be a bust, Blake.
No, I'm with you, Dustin. There, I remember back to that Memphis game last year, and I just kind of said, "Hey, this isn't it." It's just not working out, right? And I think that's the best case for Auburn, right? Is if all of these transfer additions and Aden coming in, and the offensive firepower that this team has, if Joe Nye stays healthy, man, this Auburn team could roll. This Auburn team could win a lot of games. This Auburn team could be a force in the Southeastern Conference. Worst case scenario, I am 100% on board with you. Joe Nye Broome has to stay healthy. All right, he has to stay healthy. If he goes down, I think that is really a detriment to this team, Dustin. And it's a backbreaker for me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. Well, we're going to get out of here, man. Before we do, we're going to throw up our season predictions. Me and Blake both fell at 22-9. I'm going to go 10-3 in the non-conference, and then I believe that we go 12-6 in the SEC. And I kind of think that 6 to 8 seed range again in the NCAA. And I'm not going to make predictions as far as round of 32, Elite 8, anything like that, because obviously you got to see how the bracket goes, matchups, blah 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 blah. But and one thing I want to say, man, this will be what I want to see this year from this team. One, you obviously got to get back on Alabama, okay? You at least got to split with them, and that's a challenge I'm issuing out to all Auburn athletics. And we'll have some of the baseball guys on soon, and they know I'm going to tell them, hey guys, let's beat Bama this time. But for the basketball, you got to get one of them. I want to sweep Georgia this year. That would be nice. I don't want to be splitting with Georgia basketball. I don't care who their head coach is and what direction they freaking think they're going. I don't want to deal with that. Sweep them. Handle your business with Alabama. At least split that. And Blake, I got a crazy thought. We're going to Gainesville this year. Let's go down there and get a dub. And because that's just silly. I'm sick of that one. And let's win a couple games in the SEC tournament. How about that one, big guy? Let's win a couple games in the SEC tournament and not get bounced out in the first round. Maybe not let Buzz over there at Texas A&M make us look ridiculous. Maybe get a couple of points versus him this year and win that one. So just some things, man, that I would like to see. But I'm going to go with 22-9. Blake's going with 22-9. Well here, and my final thoughts, man, are just we are really excited for basketball here. I know that a lot of our new subs, obviously, the football's been rolling. If you're somebody that is not, you're really here for the football, man, give Auburn basketball a chance. And the way Blake says it a lot of times for Auburn baseball, give it a chance, dude. It's a ton of fun. We're going to be in here talking about it. As you've seen this episode and all our guys have been watching lately, Blake's got his hands full. His wife went back to work. So he's playing daddy duty, man, taking care of Levi. But my guy's determined to get in here and still make content for you guys and grind and help me out. So I love Blake for that. I appreciate Blake for that. And so we're still going to be live tonight, Tuesday at 7 p.m. And we're probably going to get out about 10 minutes early to get everybody over so you can get on your couch and watch the basketball game, 8 o'clock on ESPN versus Baylor. And then as the season goes on, we'll just kind of figure it out how we're going to do post-game and all that. I would say this week, Blake's traveling to Autzen over there in Eugene for Oregon versus USC. So we got the game Friday night, and I'll probably be covering a high school game Friday night. So I'm going to record the game for Southeast Louisiana and then watch it Saturday morning. I might come in Saturday morning and do an episode breaking down the Baylor game. Maybe have one of the guys from the War Report come over and help me out. I'll figure all that out. So we're going to get our basketball schedule worked out. There's a lot going on, obviously, this week. Blake being a daddy, me with work, having my surgery coming up. Got a lot of things going on. The basketball season goes on. We'll get that schedule figured out, and we'll keep you guys updated on that. I promise you we'll be reviewing every basketball game, previewing, and we're going to stay up on the basketball. Believe me on that. We're not going to be lacking on that. We'll stay up on this for sure. So ton of content coming out for you guys. If you have not, man, like the video, share that on social media, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys back here Tuesday night. Live show Friday 10 a.m. for the preview game for the Arkansas. Y'all already know the deal. War Damn Eagle. We'll see you guys soon. We're out of here.
War down.
Yes, sir.